Guys, I want to get loud all of a sudden.
Do it.
Sorry, I'm going to.
I knew it was coming.
I'm sorry, guys.
Can't
but I
hold 'em
need
back.
to do that.
It is. You feel like Poseidon chucking that bugger down in the water.
Sucking that bugger. Did you butt out that deer?
I did not butt out that deer, but the next one I get, okay, it's getting its butt out.
Is that little Stevie out here in the back?
Drobop. Bow drop, I'm sorry. Drobop. Hello. Stay tuned. I'll be back after my seizure.
Every little chipmunk that was running around, everything's dead quiet, and I went like that. Just happened.
I saw what is in essence a nature-gasm.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Sonic Campfire with the Rutten River Pursuits podcast. I'm Kyle, and to my left I have...
I'm Steve.
I'm Will.
This is Dave.
I'm Catfish.
Guys, I'm pretty excited about the guest that we have tonight.
You don't say.
I am. He's a PA native and fellow podcaster.
Really?
Ain't that something?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Beau Martonik. How's it going, Beau?
Nice.
Hey, Beau.
Good, guys. What's going on tonight?
Oh,
Not a whole lot.
living the dream. We
There you go.
The wet dream.
It's not inaccurate this week.
No, unfortunately, the show must go on regardless, and we made some stuff happen. I actually got water with all this flood, with all the flooding going on. I got water in my basement, so the podcast was in jeopardy, but we got her back on track.
Yeah, we forgot.
Nice.
We had so much rainbow that the Susquehanna was at level 4 foot, like 4'1", not 6 days ago, and now it's 18.3 in just 5
Really?
days. Yeah, it's that
and
bad.
climbing.
And climbing. Yep.
On Sunday, it was like 4 foot.
We got
Wow.
almost 5-6 inches of rain here in one day, and it's just been raining for 7 days or something.
Seems like
crazy.
it.
Ground
That's
saturated.
crazy. It hasn't rained here much at all.
Where are you at, Beau?
Oh, it was
I'm over by Pittsburgh now. I work
Okay.
just north of Pittsburgh during the week. And, yeah, we haven't had that much rain. I mean, just some quick thunder showers, and that's about it.
Wow.
Wow. Well, good for you.
I'll say.
It's
Yeah,
miserable.
sorry to rub that in, but my
No, you're
basement
not.
is not flooded.
Yeah, right.
Hershey Park here in Hershey, Pennsylvania is like underwater.
Sweetest place on earth.
Yeah.
It is.
I thought it was just a
Looks-
marketing scheme.
No,
Chocolate River.
it looks like a chocolate river running through the place.
It's true.
Thank you, Swatara Creek. That thing floods all. Pine Grove got nasty floods. Like the whole town's flooded out.
Wow.
Anyhow, so we had some water in the podcast room that we had to deal with today, and it's pleasantly humid down here.
Yeah, we're back on track. I mean, I'm happy. So,
You got the rubber boots on?
oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
I got slippers on. Literally.
You always podcast in
Odd
your
slippers. So, Beau, we said you're a fellow podcaster, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about your podcast. Give us a
Yeah,
30,000 foot overview.
I started a podcast called East Meets West Hunt, and it just launched July 1st, so it's relatively new.
Yeah.
So the podcast, the basis of it is I grew up in north central Pennsylvania, and I basically hunted, big woods, whitetails, turkey, bear, everything my whole life. And never really did much more than that. Just hunted at home. Thought, that's the way that it was. And a few years ago, I got the bug to want to try to go out west and hunt elk for the first time. So I planned the trip and went out with my brother and my cousin and just spent 7 days in the Colorado backcountry, just backpacked in on some public land and hunted elk. And we didn't kill anything, but it was an awesome experience. It was something that, basically changed my life, what made me want to do a whole bunch of more, adventure style hunts.
That one hunt did.
There's more to it. So I went on that hunt, and it was an awesome experience. I mean, it was so much harder than I ever would have imagined. And it also I just got the bug. I don't know what it was. I just wanted to do more of it. And I went out this past year, 2017, and went on it again. But actually, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. When I got back from that trip, I wrote a story on it. I just basically for myself, just to remember all the details of it, and I submitted it to an online magazine called the Journal of Mountain Hunting, and just as a subscriber story, and they ended up picking it to run the article. And when I did that, I got a ton of feedback on it from guys in Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York, Virginia, all the eastern states, and really
That's cool.
So everyone was asking me after that story that it was, it's real expensive. How do you do that? Blah, blah, blah. I wish I could do that. And I was, it really wasn't that expensive to do something like that when you do it, by yourself or do it yourself style hunts rather than going with an outfitter. And because I was going out there more for just the experience of doing it. I've never been west of the Mississippi before, so that was like a big deal to do that, and just seeing the mountains and everything was so cool. So I wrote that story anyways, and I got a lot of good feedback on it. And then after that, the editor reached out to me and was like, hey, that story did really well. Would you be interested in writing some more for me about like from an Eastern perspective? So I kind of went on as a field editor, writing monthly articles about hunting, whitetails in the Appalachian Mountains and planning trips out west and some other different things. And that just kind of blew up into doing some more writing, and went out west this past year in 2017. And when I was out there, I was like, I want to be able to help other people, do these style hunts, because everyone just thinks that I have all this money or something that I could do that, and it's definitely not the case. I just drive out in my truck, pack my stuff, and just hike with my bow in the mountains. It's no different than hunting in Pennsylvania, other than there's a 27-hour drive and everything in between, and the tag costs a little bit more. So that's really the only difference in my opinion. So I was like, I want to do something with
That's
it.
That's a big difference.
Is it really 27 hours?
Wow.
Man.
Yeah, give or take. And I was driving straight through, but
good on you, bud. Jeez.
It's a long trip, but it was cool to do that. So I really wanted to, again, just help out other people be able to do that. And I love podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts since 2014, maybe. And I was like, I'd like to do my own podcast, but kind of just, stepped around it. Wasn't really sure. I'm like, I don't know, a whole lot about this. I haven't even killed an elk. How am I supposed to, make a podcast, And then I just got it in me in January. I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I know anything more than I do. Talk about what I know and interview people like I would want to get that information from them. So I said, I just want to get a bunch of guests from a lot of them from the East Coast, some from the West, and talk about, how to plan different style hunts, but also not just from a Western style, from Eastern, the Appalachian Mountains in this whole region, through Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, New York, all those places have awesome places to hunt that's never, publicized or talked about. And so, if you say you just had a kid or anything else, you can't get away for longer than 3 days, or whether it's work, can't get vacation, you can find those type of things, in your backyard, per se. And so I wanted to really get into that. And I started this podcast, again, long story short, started this podcast around it. And it's been really awesome. It's been an awesome experience. I've recorded about a little over 20 so far, but I released my 7th one yesterday.
Nice.
I just banked up a lot of them at the Total Archery Challenge in Seven Springs, and it's been pretty cool.
We should have gone. We
say that every year.
Why aren't we there?
I don't know why we.
I think you guys were in Canada.
Well, this year we left for Canada. Yeah. But that's something that is worthwhile, and definitely. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it. But Seven Springs. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, man! That Total Archery Challenge. I've been going there for 3 years now, and I work for an archery shop on the side. I work for Bucks and Bows Archery outside of Pittsburgh, and So I started going down with them 3 years ago to work a booth basically that they had there at the time. Total Archery Challenge was super small, and it's a 3D archery shoot that goes through the ski resort of Seven Springs in Pennsylvania. And so they have these courses that are set up extremely challenging. You have your normal locals course, they call it, which is more like your regular 3D shoot. And then they have some like different sponsored courses around that have extremely difficult shots. So anywhere from the one course has anywhere from 40 to 120 yard shots.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you when we were there working as an archery shop, let's just say that you make a lot of money in arrows. You better bring your saw with you.
I think that's right. I don't go because I would just spend a paycheck on arrows.
The one place that me and Will go to, the bow hunter, Brickerville.
Yes, in Brickerville.
They had that like 80, 90 yard shot. Remember at the lion across the pond, downhill. Yeah. And then
They have like an elk and a lion.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was like an elk and a lion, like kind of put up on the back of it, like it was attacking it.
Yeah.
And
that's
a lot of guys were shooting right under it in the water, like because they had them right on the. But that was a cool shot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, it's fun, but I mean, like you want to cry because how much arrows and everything cost, just to be sending them downrange like that. But I started practicing a lot further shots just because of going out west, and you never know kind of what you're going to get into. But yeah, it's such a fun experience. So like this last year was huge. I think there was somewhere close to 2,000 people that walked through the door there. I mean, it was crazy.
And you said you podcasted while you were there?
Yeah, I had a booth. Set up. That I was lucky last minute. I was telling my buddy Rob Chalinsky, who he basically runs the Total Archery Challenge there. And he was like, "What idea do you have?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm starting up this business, a podcast." And he's like, "Well, do you want to set up a booth?" And I was like, "Man, that's a month away, and I don't even have equipment yet." And he's like, "Well, figure it out." And so I made it happen, and got all the stuff I needed. It made me pull the trigger and really start focusing on it. So I started lining up guests ahead of time, some people that I knew I wanted to talk to. I just sat and recorded there. So I also sell apparel that I designed. I have a million hats, I think. So I decided to learn how to do some graphic design work and design, hats and shirts. So I was selling those there and just doing that and podcasting for 3 days. So it was awesome.
That's sweet. Sounds like a great time.
Anyone you podcasted with there that you want to kind of give us a little bit of a teaser on upcoming episode?
Well, the first one I released that was from there was with Brian Call from the Gritty Bowman podcast and Jordan Harbertson, who's one of the owners of Mountain Ops.
Oh, okay.
So I recorded one in their hotel room that night, which was pretty big for me. It was a really good conversation. It wasn't like entirely about hunting, but it was just about like the process of, me starting up this business and everything else and, taking risks in life. So that was cool. And it had a ton of good podcasts also with you guys just had him on recently, Greg Litzinger.
Yeah.
How about that guy?
Yeah, so Greg's an awesome dude. And so Greg and I sat down and talked, and there was I think I recorded with 12 different people there. There was a Stefan Caprioletti's from your guys' way. Do you know him at all?
No, you got to introduce us.
What's his name again?
Stefan Caprioletti. He
Why
works
does that sound familiar?
Canati Taxidermy and Sitka Gear.
Okay.
And he killed a bear in Pennsylvania last year and some other stuff. So we talked about that a lot. It was a really good show though. Like I would just, basically just, confronted people as they were around, ones that I knew that I wanted to talk to. And when you confront them in person, they're not going to say no.
No, that's the only way to do it.
That is.
This goes right along with this podcast. It's like the perfect guy to tell it to. But, one of the maybe we can sit and talk off air one of these days, Beau, but one of the things that I find when I went to Alaska to hunt is, like you said, preparation. I don't know now the Total Archery Challenge and all the stuff. I've seen your Facebook page. I mean, I'm not going to say you're out of shape, but you got to be in shape to go hunt out west. You know, you look like you're ready to go elk hunting. And I think that you can buy the best equipment, you can have the best plans, the best pre-made food, whatever, but you got to get in shape. And when I went to Alaska to hunt Dall sheep, there's no stair climb or anything that can prepare you to climb those mountains. Like
I bet
it's mentally distracting from the hunt sometimes, from the sheer fatigue that your legs and your hips go through, your lower back. If you're not, is there anything you do to go out west to hunt elk to prepare to do those types of things? Because it's a lot of climbing.
I have everything but the fitness.
Right. Yeah, we own everything but the fitness part. You can't buy the fitness part. Right?
And the funny thing is, I mean, even if you're not in shape, you can hunt out there. Like, I don't ever want to make it sound like you can't, but if you want to make it easier on yourself and not hate every second of it, it's a good idea to get in shape.
Yeah. Do you prep for those trips at all?
Yeah. So I would work out just about every day, but it's a lot different than like when I was back in college and everything else, where I just, would lift weights, where now it's like, it's specific to hunting. And I do a lot of hiking with just underweight on the pack to help, build those hip flexors in your lower back and your core, and really focus on those areas, as well as I do some running and some other stuff for cardio. But for the most part, I don't go to the gym anymore. I have some kettlebells at the house and sandbags, and and also built a box. It's like a 16-inch step-up box. Mm-hmm. So when I can't go out for a hike, because that takes time and driving somewhere, I'll just put weight in my backpack and just sit there and do as many step-ups until I'm so bored that I can't even think. You can only step up onto a box and look at a wall so many times. It was so helpful.
That's what listening to podcasts are for. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
We might need some of those sandbags here in Central PA.
You're not kidding.
For all that rain.
Speaking of Alaska, Beau, you were just up there earlier this year, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there last month.
Jealous. No, did I say that out loud?
No, that was inside, bud.
Yeah.
Alaska is insane. And you were just saying you were up there, and I can't even, put it in words. My whole life I wanted to go to Alaska, and my grandfather actually lived up there for a while and was a fire jumper. So,
oh man,
and he always told stories about Alaska and everything. And he's like, you got to go if you ever get a chance. So my brother is in the military, and he's been up there a bunch of times, and we got this opportunity to go up there with a company called Heather's Choice that I work with, and that they make backpacking meals. So that they asked us to go up there. They live in Anchorage, and it was like a month's notice. And I was like, well, geez, I don't really have the money off to the side just to fly to Alaska. But, I
don't think Southwest does a $69 round trip there, dude.
No, it's like $80.
No, they do not. Not at all.
Did you check Northwest?
After thinking right after sinking all the money into my podcast equipment and everything. So it wasn't a good time. Let's put it that way.
Tell us about it.
But luckily, I don't have any real responsibilities as far as, I'm not married, I don't have kids, and I don't own a house. So I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So I just went and did it. My brother and I went up there, and it was an awesome experience. Didn't do any hunting, which I'll never probably go there again without hunting, because getting a black bear tag is extremely easy for someone out of state. The season never closes, and at least in the part of the state I was in, it runs from July 1st to June 30th.
Jesus.
So,
I might know a guy that could show you some spots. I still remember by memory, even back then, kind of where to go and what to do and the different camps we were in. Sure. As long as I could get to Smoky Creek, and as long as I could get down, in those areas, because nobody owns it. Those little short runways for those Piper Cubs and float planes, anybody can go out and do a self hunt. Yeah. But I mean, as long as I could get to the same places, I totally remember the valleys, the Dall Sheep valleys. I lived up there for a while working for an outfitter. So You know, I got to do it every day and it was extremely. It's a lot like people that say that fishing's addicting, like the guys that say salt life, like salt's in your blood. Once you become a long liner fisherman, whatever, waterman and crabber, they can't do anything else. And Alaska's a lot like that. You hunt it once or twice. They say it about Africa. Once you hunt Africa, you're drawn back to it. And it is. Every time somebody says I was just in Alaska, I feel it. It's like, oh, I'm jealous. I want to go back.
Yeah. It was one of those things that, I didn't want to leave. And I was only there for a short period of time. It was like 5 days, just because vacation from work and everything, I couldn't get off. But it was so cool. And just the first day we were out there, went on a hike and we saw what we're pretty sure is a grizzly bear. My brother won't confirm it because he said he needed to have a little bit better of a picture of it, and I didn't have my binoculars. But we were walking down this valley and we looked up there. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's a brown bear, and we couldn't tell. It was a little bit far away. Anyways, we walked off. And we ran into a hiker coming down the trail, and she was like, "Hey, be careful! There was just a big brown bear sighting in here chasing a calf moose around." And I was like, "Well, I think that was him."
Yep.
But it was just like, "Well, I'm not in Pennsylvania anymore at that point." So
no,
yeah, it was.
It gives you that feeling that you're not on the top of the food chain anymore, right?
No, definitely not. The last morning we were there, I was laying in my tent, and it was during the summer solstice there, so it was 24 hours of daylight.
Right.
And so I'm laying in my tent trying to sleep. I don't know what time it was. I think it was like 4 a.m. And I heard the dogs barking, and I didn't think anything of it. I just laid there. And eventually, about 15 minutes later, I got up and I had to go to the bathroom, and I walked outside, went off in the woods, came back, and the neighbor that was in the house next to, I was in a tent in someone's yard, but the neighbor came over and was like, "Hey, there was just a big grizzly, in the yard next to your tent." And I was like, "Oh, that's great." I'm glad I'm going home.
Sneaky buggers.
I'd die.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was pretty crazy, and all I had was my knife. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go down fighting, but I'm probably not gonna come out on top.
No, get out and fight now. At least you had it right. That's
absolutely. Now, Beau, to get back on kind of hunting out west in the mountains.
Get back on that, Kyle.
I'm getting there.
Get to the getting.
Obviously, you're really into being prepared and training for your hunts. What was your first trip out there like as far as a learning standpoint? Was it just like a giant slap in the face, or was it fairly easy to prepare for?
So it was a little bit of both. It was a big slap in the face from the standpoint of preparing to be at 11,000 feet elevation. No matter how good I thought I was in shape, was a struggle. I mean, I got out at a rest stop to use the restroom there and started walking. I'm like breathing heavy. I'm like, "Oh, this isn't good." And
welcome to my world.
And that's in the Chesapeake Bay area.
Yeah, it's at sea level.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, the mountains are way bigger than I could have imagined. I mean, you can look at Google Earth all you want, but they're way bigger than you expect.
Yeah.
And also just like when you're kind of just, I mean, I wasn't alone. I was with my brother and my cousin, but when you're just like completely disconnected for that long and you're dealing with these, rainstorms, snowstorms, just dropping temperature, this and that, and, no comforts that you're used to having, when you whitetail hunt, you come home and sleep in your bed every night or doing this. I mean, it was eye-opening for me. So from that standpoint, it was difficult. And there's a lot of, miserable times when you're just tired. I mean, everything's steep and deadfall everywhere. So that I was hunting in a wilderness area. So there's no logging. There's nothing. It's just a bunch of down timber. When a tree falls, it just falls. And it was so that there was a lot of that climbing in and out of logs and thick, pine trees and everything. And that was tough. But from a standpoint of where I felt like I was really prepared was I did a lot of, researching on elk behavior and how to find elk and all this stuff. I mean, I read everything. I listened to podcasts, and we were able to find elk. So that was cool. I'd marked on my app, like the locations of where I thought they would be bedding, just based off of, again, my knowledge of reading stuff and listening to people. And we found elk there. So like the first night, I bugled down into this canyon and wasn't really hearing anything. And we were filming that trip. Actually, it's the only time I ever filmed a hunt, probably the last time. But I heard we shut the camera off, and all of a sudden a bugle lit up in the valley, and it was just like, it just put chills up and down your arms. You're just like,
how about
wow? Like I just drove all the way across, the country, and went to this little spot on a map that I picked out, and I found a bull. So it had.
That's awesome.
So the where the learning curve was there is we got in on the elk 5 out of the 7 days that we were there, which is pretty good. But I just screwed it up every time because I had no experience with what to do when you're actually within that 100-yard range, to get into bow range.
Yeah.
But
so when you say bow range, do you mean your range or
no,
bow?
My compound bow range.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm following.
Yeah, no, bow range is only like 6 feet. So
nice.
Yeah. So it was so cool though. I mean, the whole experience was, and again, that's what just drove me to it. It was like, and I've heard this analogy a lot, but it's true. It's like, hunting an 800-pound turkey that just, screams all the time. And the behavior of the elk is what I've really focused on going forward. And this past year when I went out there, I had even more close encounters, even under 20 yards. It's just, I didn't, draw at the right time or this or that. I figured out that when you're hunting out there, at least for elk hunting, you never really have a great opportunity. You need to be able to take care of good opportunities and know when to draw your bow. And, not like, with a whitetail, you're ranging things ahead of time. You can't do that. You just got to you got to know, you got to practice, 3D and everything all summer and get good at judging yardage and be ready to draw back and execute the shot and when the opportunity comes. So that was like the biggest thing for me, was learning how the thermals work in the mountains and everything along those lines was a huge learning curve. But to kind of circle back to your question there, it's hard. It took a lot of planning, but when you look back at it, it's easier than you think.
It must be super rewarding too, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's all
that effort is just going to go. Is you're going to see that effort pay off, even without a kill. I mean, that effort is going to be shown.
Yeah, I mean, and now this year it's my 3rd year, and it's 100% success rate. I heard. So
after your yeah.
At least that's what I'm telling myself.
It's a charm. I heard it's a charm.
It is a charm.
Mm-hmm. 3rd time.
So basically, I'm not coming home unless I kill an elk.
Don't do it.
I know a good real estate agent out there. If you want the number,
Yeah.
Who is that?
We'll talk offline. That's Deke's side deals. He gets cuts on everything.
I can't afford much, so I'm going to live out of my truck most likely.
It's not a bad strategy.
Yeah.
But we talked to a lot of folks about hunting, and typically the normal stuff, whitetail, turkey, some bear, elk every once in a while. But I don't think we've ever talked at length with anyone about rattlesnake hunting.
And there's a reason for that.
And there's a reason for that.
I've actually reached out to a few folks and zero response. And I can count on one hand how many times I've had zero response.
It's all been rattlesnake.
It's all been these rattlesnake hunters.
It's getting popular in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So they might be territorial.
Maybe. Are you willing to talk about that, Beau?
Absolutely not.
Next question, please.
No, it's funny you say that though. Before I talk about rattlesnake hunting, I posted a picture on Facebook. To spoil the story, I killed a rattlesnake this year, and
nice.
I posted a picture with it, and I put on there. I was like, oh, I cooked the snake up. I tanned the skin and everything. Like it was, it was an awesome time. And some guy, I wasn't even friends with him on Facebook. I don't know how he, got on there, but he just starts tearing me apart. And I started looking at his profile, and he's like a snake whisperer, basically. It seems like, but like he is super weird about it. And he was telling me how I was handling the snake wrong. And I'm like, dude, I'm not really a snake hunter. I just wanted to do it and have been trying the last couple of years. But anyways, yeah, they get extremely territorial about stuff.
That has to be like good preparation for your hunts out west, that hiking, like while snake hunting, because you're in some deep area normally, off the beaten path.
Probably rocky.
And
definitely rocky.
Down in Huntington, there's so many rattlesnakes, but they're hard to get to because it's up shell cliff, like
right.
Oh man,
it's tough.
I mean, these are foothills over here compared to what's
this
out
is off
west,
the topic, but this is kind of PA.
Yeah.
Kind of PA-ish kind of thing. Catfish.
Yeah, so this is north central Pennsylvania.
Well, catfish is like down in Huntington, and we're all like, over in Huntington, right?
Yeah.
But it's like everything's down, like down the state college.
I say the same thing.
Yeah,
it's down there.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody in Pittsburgh, because I'm from northern Pennsylvania, they say you're from up north, up there, up north in that.
Yeah. We're going down the Erie, down the Erie, down there.
Don Air. But yeah, so
he's right.
The snakes, they're definitely in some remote places, but like the one I ended up catching and killing was on a logging road. Like, so it was just in the weirdest place, like all these rock piles we went to, everything, never found a snake. And then, coming back out right on one of the logging roads, it was just laid out on there in the shade.
That's how I found the female I found. It from 20, 30 feet away, I thought it was a stick laying across, the tram road, and she was just laying there sunning herself. She didn't really care until we got a little closer, and she coiled up. She didn't rattle at us or anything. I don't know if she just ate or what, but she wasn't aggressive at all. So, but it was the same thing. I mean, you're looking for them everywhere while you're hiking around, and then it's on the road. It's like on the tram road.
Exactly.
What's some of the rules? I know that that rattlesnake hunting comes with a whack of rules.
Don't kiss it on the face.
Don't Jimmy Houston a rattlesnake.
Don't try to tickle its rattle.
Well, but you mean legal rules for Pennsylvania?
Lip it like
those rules.
Lip it like a bass.
So besides those rules, which are very important too, you definitely don't want to kiss a rattlesnake on the face. And but from a legal standpoint, you're allowed to take one rattlesnake per year in Pennsylvania with a valid permit. So you have to submit an application to the Fish and Boat Commission, and so you send $25 in and a check, and they send you back this giant packet full of rules, learning about snakes, everything. It's pretty cool because you do get to get a little background on snakes in Pennsylvania and everything else. But so anyways, you're allowed to take one snake a year with that permit. But there's also a catch to that. They have to be at least 42 inches long and a male. So my first thought was, how am I supposed to tell if a rattlesnake's a male or female? And
it's like it's over 22 or 23 like rings by its tail. I forget there's a special name for that though, right?
Yeah, there's 21 or more subcaudal scales. Which goes from their vent to the rattles. And so again, I'm sure you can kind of pick up on the hard part about that is how am I supposed to check that when it's alive? So when you find a snake, I have like these tongs basically that
I hope they're like 40 feet long.
Did you get them?
Yeah,
from
they're
Traeger?
like a foot and a half.
They're the extra long Traeger tongs.
Yeah, like the ones you pick apples with. No. But they, so you grab a snake with the tongs, and then you need to put his head into a tube to be able to.
That's probably fairly easy to do, right? They don't mind that.
Oh, they love going in tubes. They're extremely happy about it. Well, the first year I was like, I don't need it. I went out in 2015 with a friend of mine, and I was like, I don't need a tube. I can just use some PVC pipe. Well, there's a lot. Listen, there's a big reason on why it needs to be a clear, flexible tube. One, so you can see where the snake's at inside the tube. That's probably the biggest one. And two, you need to be able to kind of clamp down on it so he can't back out on you. So the first year it didn't work out, and I never ended up getting one because I couldn't count his scales, because I couldn't get a hold of them. Anyways,
your buddy didn't let him borrow his tube?
He's not a rattlesnake hunter really. He just knew where some dens were.
Oh, geez.
Okay. And he knows where to find them at and everything, and he likes them, but never wants to kill them. And so he didn't tell me anything.
So you were just look away, bud, look away.
Yeah. I started looking online and started seeing people using these clear tubes, and I looked it up online, and there was you could buy snake tubes at like these pet stores online for like $50, and I was like, I don't want to do that.
That's a chunk of cheese for a snake tube. Dang.
And I'm like, there's got to be something else. Well, I read where a guy uses a fluorescent light bulb tube. So the sleeves for fluorescent light bulbs,
there
were
we
like
go.
$2. They're $2 at Lowe's. So I bought one, and the biggest they had was 2.5 inches in diameter. I was like, well, I hope I don't catch a real big snake. And I did. The snake I caught was, I don't know what the diameter of it was, but it was 52 inches long.
Oh, wow.
Good
and so
night.
legal is 42 inches.
Just tell them, suck it in and get in.
Well, luckily their head's smaller, so like it fit in there for about a foot of it, and I was able to clamp down, on the other part of the neck, or their whole body's in neck, but up by the
grab onto his neck.
They call it the giraffe of reptiles.
I think I caught him by the shoulders. Yeah,
it's so weird when you put them in there though, because you're like, I have a snake right now in my hand that could kill me if he gets his head out.
Yeah,
and their bodies are so strong, so I'm holding on to the tail, trying to count this. And I ended up counting, and it had 22, and I was like, yes, that's legal.
Bingo.
And then
Yahtzee.
Put the tape measure on him and saw how big he was, and I'm like, oh geez.
Back up, Beau. How do you put a tape measure on a snake with a plastic hat on it that's rolling all over the place?
You have a buddy. I had a buddy with me.
All right.
And
so you like a tape measure, like literally you slap a tape measure on it,
like one of those
snake board
tapes.
It's probably
you can
special
see,
one on Amazon for snakes.
Tube. You can see the snake's head inside the tube.
Yeah.
So you just put it up alongside of that and then run it down the tail. And I straightened him out the best I could. And he was, even if he was all curled up, he was still over 42. So
what's the vent?
The vent
take
is
a guess.
The rear vent.
Is that is it the cloaca?
Sure.
Yeah, it's the butt. It's the butthole of the snake.
Gotcha.
It's where he vents.
He does other stuff.
He does other stuff out of it. Exactly.
Yeah,
Texas heart shot.
What was it? A black phase? That first?
It was a yellow phase.
Oh, nice.
I could totally see Stevie getting in trouble the way he measures bass if he's measuring rattlesnakes the same. But I'm telling you, it was 22. And the warden's like, it was like 16, man. Stretch
it. Shrunk.
Pull on it.
He shrunk in the cooler.
Straighten the tail out.
Yeah, it's
ground
definitely
shrinkage.
a weird process to be able to do it, but it was cool.
So what'd you do with it from there? Because of course,
made candles out of it.
You want to hear the business
knew that was
end
coming.
or the?
No, but did you put it in a bag and throw it in your backpack and hike out? Like, what'd you do with the snake after it's in a tube and you tape measured it and you knew it was legal?
So yeah, at that point, again from reading, they say or in watching videos, like you just put it in the bag alive, and then you go home and put it in your freezer to kill it.
Okay.
And once I saw how strong he was and everything else, trying to get him in that little bag, wasn't, going to work.
Was it like the size of like a pillowcase bag? Like
Who the hell freezes rattlesnakes? My luck, I'd get it out, I'd throw it on the kitchen counter, and it would thaw and bite me and my wife and my dogs. And like I thought you said it killed the thing. Be like Encino Man. Then come.
Encino Man.
You know what movie I'm talking?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
Pauly Shore.
haven't used that
I'm
as a
sorry,
reference.
Bo. I
since-
pictured like a Demolition Man frozen rattlesnake coming alive. It just sounds horrible.
unfrozen.
No, it was
raised.
a 50-pound bag that you would have minerals in. That's what it was.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So one of those sacks.
Can they bite
And,
through it? Like
Yeah, they can.
another reason to
Dear
not
Lord.
take it home.
But usually when you have their eyes covered and stuff, they just
Once they're in a bag, I think they calm. Most snakes, you can throw. I used to throw
Yeah.
black snakes in backpacks, and they just kind of settle down once you.
Oh man.
And just remember, this is all of assumption by me because I've never done this. And then at that point, when you're at the moment of truth, you're like, all right, well, this is getting way more serious than than I expected. Like, there's a good chance that I get bit, but not really. I mean, it was.
We just had Manny Puig on the show, and he's been bit by absolutely everything on the planet,
including a rattlesnake.
Yeah. Lost a finger.
Yeah.
And like between you and Manny, I'm a little bit freaked out now.
Well, that's a lot more serious than I had, but
I don't know. You had a 52-inch rattlesnake in a plastic tube.
But I mean, if you hit him in the head with a rock, though, you can still skin the snake out. It doesn't ruin.
Yeah.
the
So I
meat.
had my 44 Magnum a snake shot in there, and I was like, that's probably not gonna do real well with it, as far as it's gonna destroy everything.
Yeah.
But
Or you like, tell me, punk. Do you feel lucky?
no, so right behind the snake's head, like the base of their neck again, they have a soft spot there, and you don't really have to hit it that hard, and it takes care of them. But I mean, I hit them pretty hard because I didn't want to chance
What's
anything.
52 inches of
Now, is this
death.
soft spot? Is that again by assumption?
Yeah.
From what you read.
So I put the snake in the bag at that point, but their muscles still moved for hours. So I put it in the bag and rolled it up, and it was still
creepy.
rattling inside the bag.
No, it's creepy.
But he
Stop it.
What?
But he was dead.
Is it like
oh, yeah.
still? Can its mouth still open and snapping?
It's going to rattle in my dreams tonight.
Oh, yeah.
You're not supposed to
Copperheads.
kiss it, man. Just
I heard all kinds of stories of those things being able to bite till the sun goes down that day, till the light goes out of their eyes. If it was me, I'd just hold their vent shut, and for like
I'm
that's
holding
the-
my
that's the-
vent shut.
That's the best way to kill a
Right now.
rattlesnake. No disclaimers. Disclaim that. But
How do you do that?
you just hold the vent shut while their head's in the tube.
Did you know that, Bo?
No, I didn't.
Well-
I guess I'll have to try it.
I'd be getting bit trying to find the vent. You know where the vent is on this?
We assume no liability.
Just roll up into sheets. Does anybody know where the vent is on this thing?
Someone help me find the vent on this snake.
So
But yeah, when I put it in the bag,
Someone-
took it back.
Someone's
put it in
going to
my
yell, it's
backpack,
down there. Down
Threw
there.
it down there and down there in the backpack and threw it in the back of the pickup and in the back of the cooler. Later on, I got home and I skinned it out. And at first, you got to take off the head of it. So just cut off the head so that there's no venom that can have potential to hit you, because even when they're dead, you can still get it.
Come on, bud. That's
So I skinned out the snake, did everything there, gutted it, got the meat, and put the meat in some salt water to kind of marinate a little bit, and then went down, fleshed out the skin and everything. It was a long process. I mean, it was it probably took me 3 hours or so to do it all.
how'd you eat it?
So I put it in salt water overnight in just one big chunk, and then the next day I mixed it in with it was olive oil and dry Cajun seasoning, and just threw it on the grill. The next day was my brother's bachelor party, so I threw it on the grill at the bachelor party, and
that's cool.
And then ate it there. It was super good. Like I
just pick it off the bone then, or
have you ever had it?
Yeah,
I've never had rattlesnake.
Their backbones are so strong. I was having trouble cutting through it. Like I wanted to cut chunks almost like you would have ribs, and
You need some
it
wire
wasn't
cutters.
working.
Oh man,
But
It's real.
Yeah.
It's real stringy. Like it's a. I've had it several times, but it's real stringy. You can just peel it like a long.
Nice.
Like a mozzarella stick string.
Absolutely, that's a great way to
Like
describe it.
string sticks when you were a kid.
Mozzarella.
Rattle mozzarella.
Or like last week.
I had one today.
They were good.
It's very.
And then-
it's not similar like that. Yeah.
there's so many bones that run through their back too. It was like it was crazy how much structure that they have in their body there, and you had to be careful, or you could definitely easily choke on one of the bones.
You lost me, Beau.
Yeah.
That's why I don't eat trout. I can't ever get all the bones out.
yeah.
That's exactly what it reminds you of, like,
Really?
as far as the structure of it.
Don't
Yeah.
like that. I don't
If you go to like a true wild game restaurant,
Yeah.
they'll have like the farm raised rattlesnakes and things, and they'll usually do that in like a linguine or some kind of pasta, like
Ooh,
a
that
fire
sounds
pasta. Yeah, it's really
does
good.
Did you get any bones?
No.
So if there was no bones, I would
It's
definitely.
no. They cook it without the bones, but it's real easy to peel off. You don't have to.
I want teriyaki rattlesnake next time. That sounds good. Black pepper
That'd be good.
teriyaki.
Bo, I've heard of guys burying the head after they.
I was gonna say, what do you do with the head?
Yeah.
Just can't flush that thing down the toilet.
You could.
I just put it back in that sack that I had them in, and threw anything else like the guts and everything in there, wrapped it up, put it in another bag, and put it in the garbage.
Wonder how many times a state cop has pulled somebody over and a guy going, "What's in the bag?" You don't want to know. Like, why do you have a corn bag on your passenger seat that's moving? What's in the corn bag?
Don't touch it.
Do you have any firearms? No, I have a rattlesnake.
I got a rattlesnake in the back.
That's
Yeah,
that's totally different from. I've never.
That's an
Never
adventure.
researched rattlesnake hunting at all, but I've seen it like you see it on TV, and that's not how I've seen snakes hunted on TV.
Well, I brought
at
up
all.
Huntington because they have that Huntington rattlesnake roundup every year.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a huge thing.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing down there. And you're right. I think the guys that do that are super territorial and private.
Really?
Like once they're signed in, they switch license plates on their trucks, and they switch
fair
trucks
enough,
a couple
yeah.
times.
Well, if you're going to a spot and you find, say, a few that aren't big enough, but they're legal, but you want them to be bigger the next year, are you going to tell anybody about that spot? It's kind of
No, you guys have all been to Lake Mead 100 times. I've still not taken it into the best bass holes yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
See,
a
that's I
bass
guess
hole.
why they're territorial. Because people could come back in
No, right.
and harvest the ones that you're trying to let grow.
Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of people just kill them just to kill them
Really?
because
They don't like.
it's rattlesnake.
Are they?
And- Oh, go ahead.
Are they timid? Like, do they? Are they aggressive or are they?
It depends. They normally want nothing to do with you. Like you hunt
Okay.
them.
That makes me
almost
feel
like you're
better.
hunting something else. Like you're being quiet as you're walking through, not trying to stir anything up because they just want to hide. But if you could step on them or anything else, because sometimes they don't rattle. Or I caught one that had all the rattles broken off it, so it was trying to rattle, but there was nothing there. And that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And there's a creepy feeling. It's a creepy feeling to be walking through the woods or getting set up. There's a distinctive sound that a snake makes through the dry leaves. That's really distinctive. That you're like, oh, that's a snake. Like it doesn't sound like your squirrel. It's if you've been close enough to one that takes off onto the leaves. It's very eerie feeling because it has this really distinctive weird sound to it, and you know exactly what it is. And the best thing to do is just freeze and figure out where it's going, so you don't run at it. But the rattlesnakes that I've seen in the woods have not rattled at me either. They really wanted nothing to do with me unless you provoke them. But
the rattling's kind of like a warning, I guess.
Well, it is, and that's my big take. I like rattlesnakes. I think they're very genuinely. They're a cool creature because they give you a warning. Other than a copperhead, it just waits with a big smile on its face and going, "Come on, a little closer." Like the other one's telling you get away from it, and the other one's like, "Oh, just come closer. I'll bite you in the ankle." Because you can't see. You can't see them. Their camouflage is amazing.
Oh yeah, they're so tough to see a lot of times. Even when they're in the rocks and everything, they blend in good, and they just want nothing to do with people. But also, one way that makes them aggressive is when they're shedding their skin, they go blind, or I don't know if it's 100% blind, but their eyes get like this milky film over it, and you can't even see their eyes. It's just like this blue film, and they're super aggressive at that point. I mean, if someone turned the lights out on me and was kind of poking me, I'd get really upset too.
Sure.
But
their defense mechanism goes up, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're doing this, do you have snake boots?
I have chaps. I need to get a pair of boots because the chaps are really hot and heavy.
Yeah. I just think it's funny. Like we never, normally I don't, and I know these guys don't, when we're out in the woods, we just wear our hiking boots or,
like muck boots.
Like our Solomons or whatever. And, so it's like, we never really care until you're hunting rattlesnakes that you
in the same area,
Yeah. Until you start hunting rattlesnakes that you would put those boots on.
Well, we run through cornfields constantly, and if they're in them cornfields, you'd never hear them as much noise as you make going through there.
Right.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, and then so to go back to your original question there about like if I leave them go another year or anything, I can't really answer that because I've only been rattlesnake hunting 2 years.
Sure.
So I went in 2015 and I went this past year, and I don't know if I'll do it, again. It was just kind of one of those things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I may end up getting a permit just to go out and catch them, but like I don't know. I don't really care to kill them. It was good to eat, and it was cool to get the skin from them and do all that.
It's a bucket list thing. It's 100% a bucket list thing, and and plus you can get a lot of like preseason scouting in and all the things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a million reasons to do it, but
nowhere not to walk when you're trying to check cameras. Like, it's one of those things. So.
But I don't think they taste that good. You know what I mean? It's like it's good, but it's not
worth wrestling.
I mean, I was drinking all day, so it was at a bachelor party. So maybe that's
maybe it didn't taste good.
Maybe I didn't even cook it. I don't know.
Right.
But no, it tasted pretty good to me with the Cajun seasoning and olive oil. I mean, you add that to just about anything, it's going to taste pretty good.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
So, Beau, looking forward to the fall, what do you have going on?
So actually, in a little over a month, I'm going to be heading to Colorado to chase elk again in September for a week to 2 weeks. I'm not exactly sure yet. It all kind of depends with work right now. I'm going to be getting laid off at some point, and not to go into the personal side of things, but I'm not exactly sure when that is, and that all depends on when I'll be hunting.
Sure.
But if I can, I'm going to go out for as long as possible until I can hopefully kill an elk. But while I'm out there, I also am going to pick up a black bear tag. So
nice.
You can buy bear tag over the counter. And last year I saw 17 different bear.
What?
And only like 3 of them were black. The rest of them were color phased.
Shut up.
Super cool.
You gotta be kidding me.
That's pretty cool.
You won't see any this year when you get the tag.
Hey, so
I bet you any money I don't.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
So your elk tag, is that by a drawing, a point system, or like how did that work?
So actually most of Colorado and the area I go is over the counter. So you can walk into a Walmart with your hunter safety card and your credit card, and you can buy an elk license.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So
Were you just in Colorado?
Not to hunt elk.
No, I was not.
No,
we were talking.
DK was just in Colorado.
Yeah, I was just in Colorado a couple weeks ago, hanging out.
Oh, nice. Did you? Is that your first time out there, or have you been there before?
I was there about 10 years ago, but this is the first time to really explore and get up in the mountains a little bit. And we were around. We went to Red Rocks and that area, so Golden, and so it was a very nice area.
Yeah. Okay. So right around the Denver area.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. No, Colorado is just such a beautiful place. So I'm excited to go back, and I'm going to be going by myself for a while, actually. So I'm going to backpack into an area by myself and hunt for, I'm not sure how many days. Again, depends on the vacation. And then I'm meeting up with a group of guys that are coming out to go for the remainder of the week or the next week. Excuse me.
Gotcha.
You just answered my question. I was going to see if your brother and cousin were going out with you again.
No, my brother's going to be on his honeymoon in Alaska, actually. And my cousin, he drew a mule deer tag down in New Mexico that he's going down with another buddy of mine. So I'll be rolling solo for a little while until I meet up with some guys, which it has its, challenges and uncertainties in my own head with doing that. But
sure.
I got to ask real quick, Beau, not, because we're running up on time a little bit. And one of the things I wanted to ask earlier was, when we talked a lot about out west and we got into rattlesnake hunting, which was all super cool. But when you actually hunt whitetails here, do you hunt only PA? Like, do you hunt out in your area around Pittsburgh?
No, actually, I don't really hunt here much at all. So I'm from north central Pennsylvania, and not going to give exact longitude, latitude, but I hunt.
It's like a requirement for this podcast, by the way. GPS
I'll
coordinates.
send it to you afterwards. I promise it'll be accurate and truthful, like most hunters.
I want the leeward tree stand, by the way.
Okay, you got it. Anything you need.
Thanks, Beau.
But anyway, so I hunt like what I consider mountain bucks. So just big woods deer. And that's kind of where my bread and butter is and where I have most of the experience doing. So I tend to hunt Pennsylvania a lot in bow season mostly. I like bow hunting. And so I love hunting up there, as well as I also go to Ohio and southern Ohio. So a lot of the mountainous areas there. When people think of Ohio, you think of, flat land and cornfields, but there's a lot of big woods there that I also hunt. So I split up my whitetail season between those two areas.
Gotcha.
And but you actually had a pretty good year. Was it last year or 2 years ago? You doubled up.
Yeah, last year I shot a 5.5-year-old Pennsylvania buck, an 8 point, and on November 8th. And next day I skinned him up and everything, got him hung up, and then I drove all night out to Ohio and just pulled in, basically drove all night, hiked up into this very steep area, hiked way up into this mountain where I'd scouted in the spring, and climbed a tree, sat there all day, and then right before dark I shot a nice 12 point, excuse me.
Wow.
That came in. So I had a really good couple days, and that was, I had hunted about 14 days straight before that without having any luck. So, but it all ended up working out for me.
Ohio's a secret gem that most people don't know about. And we want to keep it that way, so we'll cut this out. But Ohio's a secret gem most people don't know. There's a lot of really beautiful country in Ohio and big bucks. Like, there's big deer. They just don't have the number of hunters that Pennsylvania has. So, and there's a lot of public land there. If you want to put the work in.
Ohio sucks. Ohio sucks. It's full of hunters. I barely move. Like, literally.
Well, that's what I meant. I was being sarcastic.
He faced one way, I face the other.
It's worse than the Orange Army, Beau saying.
Yeah, bless your heart.
Yeah,
that's a hard statement to be able to even lie about.
It is, yeah. Yeah,
but
especially when you shoot a 12-pointer out there.
Yeah, but no, but actually, like the buck I shot in Pennsylvania was a lot older and just bigger bodied. The deer in PA had a nice rack, but like the body on it was so impressive. And just giant buck. But so in both of those areas, I hunt, again, big woods. So there's no crop fields, there's no anything. I just kind of hike back into some areas in public land and hunt those deer.
What's a quick tip for our hunters or our listeners for hunting big woods? It's a lot of that in Pennsylvania. So one quick tip you could give our listeners on that.
Well, I would say it'd be time of year, and I would say hunt the rut. And everyone, that's, stated across the board, hunt the rut. But It's hard to answer that real simply, but I'll give you two scenarios and what I would do in either of them. The rut and most of Pennsylvania, I hunt creek bottoms.
Yeah.
I hunt, like feeder stream creek bottoms where you have pine trees going through there, beaver ponds, everything like that. That's how I hunt because they travel that a lot. And if I go to Ohio, where it's a little bit narrower creek bottoms and the wind is way too swirly to be able to hunt it, I'll hunt the saddles. So where 2 points of where a ridge has a low spot, I hunt just over the edge of those saddles because the bucks tend to bed out on the points about 3/4 of the way up towards the top. And I'll go on that same level over the saddles. And some of the younger deer and the does will walk the top of that ridge, but those big bucks never like to be skylined, so they'll stay just over the edge and come through.
Yeah.
So
Good stuff.
I've had a lot of success doing that in Ohio specifically. In Pennsylvania, at least a lot of the areas that I hunt in north central Pennsylvania, when you get these feeder stream creek bottoms, okay, they'll have. We have a lot of beavers in Pennsylvania. They dam up the spots, and I'll hunt right on those beaver ponds. Like I'll pick a tree that's like with my back to the beaver pond, because no matter what, the water is warmer than the air, so it pulls your thermals straight up.
Nice.
And you're as long as you have the wind somewhat coming in your face, it hits that water and goes straight up. So it helps deal with some of the swirling winds that you get in, and the other thermals that you get in hunting in creek bottoms.
And if the beaver is busy too, I mean, if you're hunting there and there's activity going on, sometimes that can keep a deer's attention away from you. Like one of the places that I hunt now has a lot of farm activity with cows running around. They're not far from me, and it's weird how when the deer come down through the woods 20, 30 yards inside the wood line, I mean, they're used to the cows, but they're watching them. It's just something. Yeah. Anyhow, so if anybody wants to find you, Beau, and wants to look up the GPS coordinates that you're about to give everybody for your Ohio stands, how could they find you and find that information?
You can't find me anywhere.
No, I got you. Don't come looking for me in Ohio.
So you can find me. I have a website for the podcast, the online journal, and apparel company called eastmeetswesthunt.com. And you can also check me out on Instagram at eastmeetswesthunt, as well as my personal page, which is just at beau.martonik.
Gotcha. And in the podcast itself can be like Stitcher, Google Play. Where can we?
Yeah, you can find that either on my website or on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, any of those channels. You can find the podcast.
Gotcha. Well, I can't wait to see what you got up, in up and coming years. You say you have 7 episodes out, and I can't wait to see what you're going to come up with next. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. If I'm not sure exactly when this is going to air, but I have some pretty good guests coming up here soon. Tim Burnett from Solo Hunter will be on this coming Monday, which will be a pretty good one to listen to.
Cool.
Awesome. All right, guys, where can they find us?
You can find us on all social media by searching Rut and River Pursuit Podcast. We're also on YouTube at Rut and River Pursuit Podcast. You can find us on all the podcast apps, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play.
Castbox.
Yes.
Castbox.
Follow us individually. Look for us. We're all out there. Check out at Stevie Miser.
It's not Stevie Miser.
It's Steve
Maybe my
Miser.
grandma would search that.
Yeah, little Stevie Miser.
Yeah, it's little Stevie Miser. Boys, it was another fun week.
Yeah. Great guest. Great company.
We'll see you.
All right.
Later.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Peace.
I mean, I got out at a rest stop to use the restroom there and started walking. I'm like breathing heavy. I'm like, oh, this isn't good. And
welcome to my world.
And that's in the Chesapeake Bay area.
Yeah, it's at sea level.
No, he was just like, he's like, you should get a hold of my buddy sometime. They have a podcast, and explained it to me and everything. So it's just funny.
I'm glad you took his advice and got a hold of us.
How about it? Hey, I didn't have my podcast going.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
You still there?
Nope.
Timid, he hung up.
Oh man, again?
Call him back.
This always happens.